Okay, Be'ezrat Hashem, Na'aseh v'natzliach. So, tonight, we are going to do something very unique, very special. We are going to do a mock seder. We're not going to go through the entire Haggadah. We're going to do some important pit stops along the way to certain places that are important that we pay attention to. And also, I thought the most important thing is to know the measurements of the matzah and the drinking and all. So, okay guys, part of the lesson is silence. One thing that I like to mention is that before we get started, if you get a proper sidur or a nice Haggadah, you can find that there's a bunch of segulot that you can do on that night. On the night of the Seder, try to do the tefillah of Rabbi Shimon Magid Mostropoli. He has a nice prayer over there that promises you שינצל באותה שנה מכל מכשול ומיתה משונה ושום אדם לא ימשול בו וכל אויביו יפלו תחתיו והוא על במותימו ידרוך וכל אשר יפנה יצליח וכל עסקיו ירוויח עד ביאת הגואל אמן סלע. It's a very, very strong blessing that has a tremendous amount of power on Leil HaSeder, or the night of Pesach, which this year lands on Friday night. So if you can say that particular prayer, the rabbi promises you that he will not have any stumbling blocks on that year, or any weird or strange deathbed, and no person will rule upon him, and all his enemies will fall beneath him, and he will be raised on many stages in the world, and everywhere that he turns he will be successful, especially in all his business endeavors, and he will profit. So try to get that Tfilat HaMekubah Rabbeinu Shimon Magid Mostropoli. Try to say that. There's also a minhag to say the Mem Bet Masaot, the 42 journeys of the Jewish people in the desert. There's a big segula over there that the rabbis tell us, the Mekubalim that study the Kabbalah. כתבו המקובלים זכרונם לברכה כדי להינצל אדם ממקרים רעים, from any bad happenings or bad events, ובפרט מחולי המגפה, or from any, שלום עליכם, and especially from sicknesses or plagues. It's good to say these membet masaot. Just a little footnote of how we should start. Before we get started on the actual Haggadah, I'd like to give a little bit of a preface of what we're doing over here. What is the Haggadah? Is it a dinner date with family and friends where we just sit once a year and we eat matzah and we complain how we miss the bread, and we say, this guy drinks grape juice, this one drinks wine, and then we all talk about, how we're going to pass the whole week, what the Yom Tov is going to be, what Chol HaMoed is going to be like, and then it's all over? Is that the purpose of that night? Is that how we actually celebrate Pesach? Or is it a very unique night and those that know actually get plugged in the right way? So let me give you a little bit of a background of what it's all about. If you were to say, what is the number one thing, what is the most important thing of Chag Pesach, especially the night of Leil Pesach, the night of Haggadah, Leil Shimurim, what is number one on the list? What's the first thing that you have to check?
What do you mean to check?
What is the number one thing, the main thing?
Check on what?
On the list of things you have to do on that night. There's several things you have to do on that night.
Talk about Pesach.
Talk about Pesach. Vegata lebincha. You have to tell your children. The whole idea is to tell the story of Pesach. Now why? Do we not know it? We say it every single year. We say it every Shabbat. We say it every day. We never forget Yetziat Mitzrayim. What's so special that on Pesach, all of a sudden, we have to say, you must tell the story. We tell the story non-stop. We don't stop telling the story. Why do we have to continue saying the story on Pesach? And why is it the big mitzvah that we look for the children? It's the children that we're looking for, that we have to find the kids and repeat the story over to them. Is because you have to understand that this is where our tradition starts. This is where it all begins for the fathers teaching the children how to be a Jew. The night of the Seder is the night that we are obligated to teach the children where we came from, our history, what happened to us, how we got out of it, how Hashem saved us, how Hashem is in the life in the past, how Hashem is in our life in the present, and how Hashem will always be in our life in the future. And we teach them about the Geulah. And it seems like that this is something that we must transmit over to our children, that our sages, that our rabbis, that all the things that are connected to it, if it's the halachot and if it's the Haggadah, all let us know that that's the order of the day. But when you think about it, the Gemara tells us about certain things that we have to teach our children. Like you have to teach him a trade, you have to teach him, you have to marry him, you have to teach him how to swim. But if you think, a trade, yeah. But if you think about it, if there's one thing that the Torah tells you all the time, the Torah, the Oraita tells you to do, is tell your children the story of Egypt, the story of Exodus. There's no one other thing that it tells you. So the story, this telling over of Yetziat Mitzrayim on Leil HaSeder, it's actually a huge mitzvah. We don't know the value of mitzvot. We never know what, if Shakol Niyah B'Dvaro is the biggest mitzvah in the world, or donating $1 million to some sort of fund is the biggest mitzvah in the world. We don't know. But we know that on this night, one of the biggest, we have a hint that the biggest mitzvah on this night is to tell the story over. And what's so special about this story of Yetziat Mitzrayim? Because it's actually, you can tap into it as a story where you're just reading passages and you're moving on and you're waiting for the food. Or you could do a little bit of research and know the background to each part, so maybe it becomes alive to you. Or if you really, really, really want to connect to your religion, if you want to connect to the holiday, and if you want to connect to what's going on over here, this is the blueprint to our past, to our present, and to the future. The Haggadah tells us of what happened to us from the beginning of time, tells us what will happen to us every single day in every single generation while as a Jew, and it lets us know of the upcoming Geulah. So if you really, really want to get good advice for the upcoming year, you can pay attention to each passage, and believe me, on Shek Knesset HaGedolah, and more specifically Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, they put inside over here certain things like formulas. If you're a Jew, pay attention. This is what you need to know for the rest of the year, for the rest of your life. It's a blueprint. It's not just a story. And even though that we're here to do a mock Seder, just to teach us what's the right way to do it in certain areas, here and there we'll take some stops to teach ourselves a few chidushim. Because part of the Seder is to come out with beautiful midrashim, chidushim about the Exodus that sometimes we don't get to share often. And this is the night that we should do a lot of that. So, I brought with me a mini Seder plate. Just so you can see what we do over here. On the Seder plate, Kabbalistically, there's a way of setting it up. Most Seder plates show you the order of the Zroa being on the right one facing, the Betzah parallel, Maror right in the middle, Charoset under the Zroa, Karpas under the Betzah, and the Chazeret under the Maror.
What's the Zroa באנגלית? Shankbone?
Zroa is like is it a shank bone? How would you say it in English? Zroa.
It's the front feet
of the animal. So basically, when we get started, we start with the Kiddush. One thing that you should know, just so we can be a little bit more connected to this particular year, this year is a super, super intense year for Pesach. Besides the fact that it's Pesach, and besides the fact that Leil HaSeder is one of the most powerful nights of the year, this year it's double stacked with Shabbat. Shabbat, as we know, Shabbat is the biggest days in a Jew's life, and it comes around every week. And we know the Gedulah of Shabbat, but here we have a Gedulah of a Chag on top of it, a holiday. And not only that, it's the beginning of the holiday, it's the Seder night. So it doesn't happen too often. I think the last time that it happened was 2012. About 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it came out on Shabbat. But right now, you have to understand that not only is it Pesach, not only is it the Seder, but it's also Shabbat. So when we start, the Kiddush is actually the Kiddush that gets all the add-ons. You know, when it says over here, add this, just add everything.
אני חושב אפשר תרומית שלום עליכם. You can start with the Kiddush, because it's too long it will be, the whole thing.
Everyone in their customs.
Because, here, look.
But
They discussed it. I don't remember the discussion on that. When you do, you don't. I don't remember the final.
But you can omit it, right? The right of the Kiddush, because it's so long that the kids can go to sleep and all this.
That's not the way we look at it.
No, והגעת למנחה, no? You want them to...
well, a good tip is to let the kids fall asleep on. Take a nap on Friday afternoon, so they can be up for so they can be up. So the Kiddush this year happens to be a full Kiddush. You add all the add-ons of Shabbat. Shechiyan. Now, something that you should know, because it lands on Shabbat, so on Friday we add all the additions for Shabbat. The second night, what do we have to add? What do we have to add on the second night if it comes out on Motzei Shabbat? The Havdalah. And the Havdalah you do when?
Before the Haggadah.
In the Kiddush.
Yaknehaz.
Yaknehaz.
Yud, Nun, Hey, Zayin. Yaknehaz.
Yud, Kuf, Nun, Hey, Zayin, which stands for Yain, Kiddush, Nerot, Havdalah. Havdalah. Shehiyanu. Chazak. So again to remember, on Shabbat we add all the additions. On the second night we do the Havdalah in the Kiddush. After the Kiddush. Yaknahaz, like the rabbi told us. Yain, Kiddush, Ner, Havdalah, Shehiyanu.
So when the Haggadah tells you where, like, it shows you for Shabbat the additions?
Yes.
Okay.
It has that over there. And right after the Kiddush, there's a little part over there for the Havdalah.
A question, Rav. You do the Havdalah on...
After the Kiddush, there's a little passage over there.
So when you drink it, after the Havdalah?
After Shehiyanu.
After Shehiyanu. So after the
You
Havdalah,
stop
you
for a
drink it.
second when you're going to do the nail. Maybe you put the cup down. You might go to the candle and Boreme Alea Esh, but and then you go back to pick it up. And yeah, you only drink it all the way at the end after Shehiyanu.
Now, here I'd like to stop because this is right before the beginning of the Haggadah. I speak only for myself. I come from Moroccan descent, but I also know I have a few friends of mine that do something right before the Haggadah starts. Right before Halach Ma'anya. In my house...
Wait, before, you did Kiddush already?
Yeah.
1 second, before Halach Ma'anya, did you speak about the Borei Periyat Ama of Karpas and the washing of the hands?
No. So...
Okay, 1 second, we need a small break. Go up there. He has to do the Kaddish. Just let him do Chatzi Kaddish, please.
Not a problem. Let's do it.
מגיע לו בשביל העוגה.
Yes.
Okay.
תגיד, העוגה זה פעם?
It's a dairy night.
I'm very disappointed.
Me too. גם בסביב.
אבל אתה צריך לעשות את זה בקול רם, אוקיי? כמו שליח ציבור, שמן השמיים רצו שזה מה שתעשה. חבל, היית עושה את זה במניין עצמו, אבל בסדר.
Let's do it.
תחזור בתשובה. לא שומעים.
We have a Kaddish. Let's answer the Kaddish so we can continue.
Amen.
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 אמן. יש שמי רבם ואף מעמד ואף טבח ועד אומם נשא והתהדר והתעלה ותעלה שמושה בירכו. אמן. אמן. So now after Kiddush we're up to Karpas. Karpas, this is something that a lot of people starts to ask. Because here we have Karpas, which usually is celery. So it's like this. Our custom is to take it and dip it in salt water. But however, before you dip it, we have to do Natilat Yadayim. So everybody asks, why? We're not eating bread. And not only that, why are we doing Natilat Yadayim and also not saying a beracha? So this is also in order to awake the people on the table as well as the children to say, what is this that you're doing? What is it? It's out of the norm because we want to teach the children. We want to pass on the tradition of what we're doing. So it has to come with some questions. But ironically, what we're doing over here is a basic halakha. There's a basic halakha when it comes to a celery that's wet. The halakha is that if you're going to eat a vegetable or fruit that's wet, you're obligated to wash your hands. By doing that, we're just keeping a halakha. Rabbi, what's the inyan with drying of the hand? Do we dry the hand before we do it?
Yeah. But if you didn't, it's not the end of the. You're supposed to dry your hand. But if you happen to wash it 3 times, or if you poured more than a revi'id, which is the common case, you really technically don't have to dry your hands.
And it's not besirugin.
No,
it's like
for bread.
It's like for bread.
Right.
So the proper thing for karpas is 1, 2, 3 on the right, 1, 2, 3 on the left. You wipe your hands and you dip. No beracha on the netilat yadayim, but beracha on the maror borei pri adama.
And here, when you make the borei pri adama, if you're recollected, you would have in mind for the maror later on after the hamotzi. Because there's some feel you need to make a borei pri adama there. It's not really part of the meal. It's like coming from the outside. It's like something.
And one of the most important things over here is to not eat a shi'ur. They tell us that you should eat just a little bit, not enough where you're obligated to say a bracha achrona after it. So sometimes when it comes to a seder, since there's not a lot of food coming right away, people take big chunks or bigger pieces to hold them over until we get to the meal. But actually, you're supposed to take just a little bite that it's less than a shi'ur, so like that you're not obligated for a bracha achrona.
Which, by the way, many Iraqis have the custom right after Kiddush, they eat the egg. The egg is the zecher, the
korban chagiga.
And they make the shackles. The simple reason they put it there is because people were starving.
Really?
That's really why. The nefashot, I don't know what to tell you. But by the way, that's
we did it in the end. We did not do it in
well,
the
in my
end.
house,
Before
right the Bavadi also brings it down. But not that we do it. He says that yesh no ani. That's all right.
I mean before.
So we are up to the part of Magid. And Magid is the beginning of telling over the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. So, like I said, over here in my house, right before we get started, we have the custom of picking up the Seder plate. And this takes us about 15 to 20 minutes by the time we finish every single guy on the table. And we go, Vevelo yatzanu mitzrayim.
It's a nice thing. I think the Rambam brings it down also.
So we say, Halach manya b'nei chorin yalalai. So what is it? What is it that the Moroccans are saying? Vevelo yatzanu mitzrayim. It's bebahala. Quickly, hurriedly, we got out of Mitzrayim. And this is something that we go and we say to each one. There's other customs where people actually take the ka'ara. They take the ka'ara and they leave. They go. And then they tell the father, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going? Where are you going? We're coming back. Coming back. Okay, so you start to tell the story of why you took the ka'ara and why you're coming back. Let me tell you the story. Another custom for the women that are having a hard time conceiving babies. It's a good custom for the girl to take the ka'ara off the plate and then she brings it back, because Ke'ara is the same gematria of Akara. So there's a segula on the night of Pesach, anyone who's Akara, to take the Ke'ara, so like that she can have the segula to have children that night. So anyone who has that situation, it's a good time to pick up that segula. And we start the halach ma'anya. Actually, and I know the Syrians actually have the thing where they go with a little sack over.
All the Middle Eastern.
Yeah? They put it over their shoulder and they start to walk. They say, like, what are you doing? What do you mean? It's time to go. It's time to leave. Just like it was back in the days, we're going to do it nowadays. So over here, there's a lot of nice customs that people implement. Plug yours in.
They used to, in my table, I don't know where they got it from, they used to with the halachma.
Yeah, ours too.
Used to pass it over the head, the whole tray over everyone's
That's what
head.
we do.
Over the head?
Yeah, over the head. Over there. That's the Moroccan. The next part over here, after halach ma'anya, we get to the manishtana. This is the greatest part of the night, because finally the kids start to be part of it. You know, there's a custom for the youngest kid in the table. Sometimes it's a group. Sometimes when a bunch of families, you know, so there's no competition. They do it together. But the manishtana, it's like a big custom that the kids, believe it or not, look forward to it.
They like it.
They practice weeks and weeks and weeks so they can come to the table. They even have their own Haggadah. They even have their own Nigun. And they're all excited. You know, when you're not in the room and they're talking between them, the little kids, you know what they're saying? I'm going to say Manishtana this year. And Abba told me that I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to do it. Oh, you can't read. Oh, I can't read. You know how to do it. Let's do it together. Let me help you. And they train each other in the back. You won't believe, in a kid's life, this is huge. This is their prime time. That they get to say Manishtana in front of 20, 30 adults. And they know it. And during the time between now and the Haggadah, it's also good to train your kids. Every time you're driving in the car, Manishtana, surprise test. Let me hear Manishtana. Promise them something. Keep them up. If they didn't take a nap, give them candies. Give them something to keep them up. This is something that is a big deal for the kids, Manishtana. You know, in between, there's some people that just steamroll through the Haggadah, and there's some times when it's a good time to stop and give a chidush. If you're the leader of the Seder in your house, come prepared. Don't be the one that just reads it or gives out the parts. You read this, you read that. It's always nice, even in shul, sometimes when the rabbi stops the congregation and says, by the way, this fourth aliyah that we have corresponds to the story and the midrash, and it becomes all of a sudden a little bit more interesting than just reading it or having no knowledge about it. So as a leader of the Seder, or even as if you're a guest, say, guys, if you don't mind, I have a little chidush over here. I heard something beautiful about Manishtana. I heard something beautiful about Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. As a matter of fact, I'll stop right here and give a little chidush. There's a part over here that says Maaseh Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Trifon, שהיו מסובים בבני ברק, והיו מספרים ביציאת מצרים כל אותו הלילה, עד שבאו תלמידיהם ומולאים, רבותינו, הגיע הזמן קריאת שמע של שחרית. So that's a famous story of a bunch of rabbis sitting around the table, and all night long they're talking about the Exodus. Until their students come and tell them, he went all night, it's time to read Kriyat Shema, it's almost morning. I heard a beautiful chidush. What did they have to tell us Bnei Brak? What have to tell us they're over there? Tell us that they're somewhere else.
But it's not the same Bnei Brak.
Tell us that they're, regardless, why do you have to tell me their location? Tell me a few rabbis were studying all night. Why does it have to be Bnei Brak? He says, we know that Haman's children did teshuvah in Bnei Brak. He says, what happened? This was those kids. It was at that time. Because their father decreed that all the Jewish people are going to die in one day. When? On the night of Pesach. So they stayed up on the night of Pesach to take tikkun on their wicked grandfather's decree. So that's why this Bnei Brak is sticking in there. Furthermore,
Some
of the rabbis there,
they were part of this gathering. And it says over there, Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Hare ani keben 70 shana. This is a very famous midrash. Even the kids know it, but it's always good to hear it. There's always somebody on the table that never heard it, and when you hear it for the first time, it's a powerful midrash. It's really a beautiful, beautiful midrash. Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Hare ani keben 70 shana, velo zachiti shetameh yitzet mitzrayim belilot ad shedarsha ben zuma. Okay, so it says Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was an 18-year-old. and this 18-year-old was going to take over the position of Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel was a very big rabbi, older, distinguished, and not only that, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was living in a time and in a community where there were other rabbis that were very distinguished, very learned, much older, and they asked him to take over the community. But he was a scrawny little 18-year-old, so he didn't feel comfortable. So he went back home and he told his wife, he's like, they're asking me to take over this community. I'm only 18. There's so many other rabbis that can take over. And the story goes that he went to sleep, and when he woke up in the morning, he had gray hair. He looked like a 70-year-old. I'm like a 70-year-old. Really, I'm an 18-year-old. So the story over there is the Midrash. Some people, they don't know that. You open it up on the table and say, unbelievable. And for those people that are on a much higher level, you can tell them also, the reason why he says, Ani keben shivim shana, is because Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was 18. But in his previous life, he was Shmuel HaNavi. And Shmuel HaNavi died at 52. So 52 and 18 is 70. So he says, Ani keben shivim shana. When I'm Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and when I was Shmuel HaNavi, I never spent the whole night talking about Yetziat Mitzrayim all the years. So here's a little midrash over here. One for the kids with the gray beard, one for the adults with gilgulim. Stop, do a little chidush and continue. The next part is Keneged Arba Banim. It says the Chacham, the Rasha, the Tam, Vesheno Yudei Rasha. Don't stop over here and point at the Rasha in the room and the Tam in the room. Have tact when it comes to this part. One other thing, we continue as we go on. We see that it talks over here. Like we could go into each part and talk about Manishtana Laila Zeh, and we can talk about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and about the 4 kids and how each kid is an individual and how we have to about the parenting tips that we could do over here. We spoke about it. I don't want to repeat it. On this part, this what will be new for this class. Here's the tip for life. Here's something that you can read the Haggadah, and you can say, you know what? God is talking to me. The rabbis are talking to me. They're telling me who I am as a Jew. It says, "Mitechila ovdei avodah zara hayu avotenu." It says before, avotenu they were idol worshippers, or they were working avodah zara. Until came who? Here's our beginnings. That we had Avraham, who says Terach, Avi Avraham, Avi Nachor. That's our beginning. V'ekach et avichem et Avraham me'ever hanahar. And it talks about how he takes him and he gives him Yitzchak, gives him Yaakov, and he gives him Esav, and Esav has Seir, and Yaakov comes down to Mitzrayim, and then that starts the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, how we became slaves. And then comes a big punchline. This is one thing that you have to understand. That there's one thing that is constantly going to be there for us, the same way that it was for our forefathers. There wasn't just like one guy in history that wanted to destroy the Jews. It wasn't like one time off, there was one wicked emperor that wanted to destroy the Jews. Every generation there's going to be someone who wants to destroy the Jews. There's always going to be a Hitler. There's always going to be an Ahmadinejad. There's always going to be some guy that an Obama. There's always going to be some guy that's going to have it in for the Jews and wants to destroy us. Don't get surprised and don't get shooken up and don't worry. The Haggadah is telling you, Hisham da lavotenu. Why? Every generation is going to be the guy, the story, the arch nemesis of the Jews, and then God's going to save us from it. That's an unbelievable disclaimer to having a life as a Jew. You live for 120 years, you're going to see 3 or 4 bad guys come into history, and what are you going to do? You're going to worry, you're going to be scared, you're going to start building shelters and then crawling under the ground? They tell us no. That's what it is. That's how life is going to be. We're always going to have people that are going to hate us, but God is always going to save us. How? Same way He did it for Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, the Jewish people, all the way to us sitting right here. A life lesson that you can't forget. Not going to go into every single part of the Haggadah, but let's go into some of the things that we have to do. When we come to the Asara Makot, when we say Dam, Tzfardea, Kinim, Arov, what do? There's a custom that we do, that we take a cup of wine and a cup of water, and we spill for each time that we say a Makkah into a bowl. We basically,
I don't think so.
by us we do.
But water is to למתק את הדינים, אתה לא רוצה, זה על ה...
So by us we do wine and water, but what do you guys do? Just wine?
Yeah, because water למתק את הדינים, אני לא למתק, אתה שואל את זה על האויבים שלנו.
Speaking of wine, there's a custom to do red wine on Pesach.
That's why I'm surprised.
So we do Dam, Tzfardea, Kinim, Arov, Dever, Shechim, we do all 10 makot into a bowl. What do you guys do with the bowl when it's done?
Flush it. Toilet bowl.
I can't tell you.
That's what I wanted to say. What do you guys do with it?
We call it atomic bomb. It's atomic bomb.
Toilet bowl.
What do you do with it?
Stories.
אבא שלי זוכר כזה על השכן. הוא לא יסובל אותו.
Wait, let's see what Chabad does. Yes.
Okay, the story.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They take a broken plate.
Yeah.
Or break it, then put all the plates, and then they throw it.
They throw it where? And what do you do with the liquid? Together.
Plastic bag.
Chazak.
Garbage.
Beautiful. That's what Chabad does. What? Yes, Rabbi?
Across the street, the year 2003, the end of 2002, they were persecuted by the city. The neighbors were tremendous against the shul. They didn't want a shul in a residential neighborhood. There were two of them that were horrible. A couple. The night of Pesach 2003, George, the big heavy-set guy, he took that leftover wine. He went and he poured it by them. One of them got sick. The other one didn't end up the year. I don't know what the story is.
So it's interesting.
That's what they say.
So it's interesting you say that.
And I say, gather the wine in Israel and just fly over the atomic reactor then in Iran.
And drop the water of the yain of the Eser Makot. So this is very interesting. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because many times when I speak to people about what do you do with the wine that you use during the Eser Makot, all these strange stories come up. And the one that comes up 90% of the times is that they use it on that evil neighbor. I have a friend here. We just had a story over here with the rabbi saying that they used it on a neighboring shul over here for some bad neighbors. I have a friend of mine who lived in a building in South Beach, and he had the neighbor from hell. Every single day, brooms on the bottom of the thing. You couldn't make a peep. You walk in the house, it's bothering him. Police, and these are good people, calm people, family people. They're doing nothing. There's no parties in the house. They're eating dinner. Dinner, brooms. Everything made them. They're walking around with socks on. Could you imagine? Anyways, they just couldn't deal with it anymore. One night after Pesach, they took this and they took that bowl and they put it in front of that guy's door. I don't know if they left it or just a few drops and then they came back. Wouldn't you know it, wasn't more than a month or two later, the guy had to move out, something came up, and the neighbor from hell disappeared. Something up with this water. Anyways, we don't believe in anything like that.
Can you hold on to it for
I don't know. What would you do with it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Save it for the right occasion.
Anyways, that's not the... Shlomo, you were saying about... Yes.
To take an egg, a raw egg, to drink it, like make a hole, and then the wine,
Really?
the makot with always with the egg. And every year we're like, he's eating it.
Really? Super interesting. I love to hear the customs of the Jews. Shlomo, you were saying your father did what?
לא, אותו דבר.
We call it atomic bomb.
לא, היה אומר זה על נאצר ועל כל אז, בזמנים האויבים של עם ישראל, ואחר כך אומרים תזרוק את זה על השכנה. לא סבל אותה.
So let's get to the part now of where we really have to get down to things that are very, besides doing the Magid, there's some things that we need to get done. We get to the part of Rochza. Now we do the actual Netilat Yadayim with a bracha, and this is the time where we bless on the bread. The bread of Pesach is the matzah. So over here, it's not complicated. I thought that would be interesting over here is to show what's the shi'ur. What does it look like? The actual kebetza, kazait, what do you have to do? I brought matzah shmura, and I bought a regular matzah so we can do it more or less. But basically when it comes to motzi lechem min haaretz, the way that it works is that we take all three. Okay. What you do first is you drop, Rabbi, help me along with this one. You drop the bottom one. Yes?
Yeah.
You take
You
it.
made first.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Then you drop the bottom one.
Right, and remember the middle one is half.
Dalit.
You store it for the halakmanya.
So now you take the middle one.
No, you leave it.
Leave it.
You leave it.
Okay, walk me through it so we do it the proper way. I have 3 matzot in my hand. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Now I do.
Tell you what, why don't you, even though you don't want to, why don't you break one in half?
The middle one.
Okay.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter.
Put that away in the box, half of it in the box.
That's Afikoman.
Okay,
When do we normally do that?
Huh?
In Yachatz.
You did that in Yachat, so now you only have 2.5 left.
זה הולך חמץ.
Okay, so we have 2.5.
Okay, so on this you're
block
going
the
to say
bottom.
Bracha Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz.
Yes.
Okay, after you want Lechem Mishneh. That's why you have the top and the bottom, the two complete ones, Lechem Mishneh.
Yes.
You're done with that. You drop the number 3 down, and
Now-
now you say the Bracha Asher Kidishav Utamet Tzivanu Al Achilat Matzah,
Okay, so
and then you start eating.
Both. Right?
Why do we cut the half one?
לחם עון.
Because לחם עוני שאני אוכל פרוסה, דרכו של עני בפרוסה, לא לחם שלם.
so when we do break this one, right? Just I want to mention over here that there has to be like a dalet, right?
If you can make it.
And which one do we take? The bigger piece or the smaller piece?
The bigger piece for Afikoman.
Bigger piece goes for Afikoman, the smaller piece come over here. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech motzi lechem min haaretz. You drop one. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech asher gishem tzivanu al achilat matzah. You start to eat.
By the way, this is a proof that in the old days they used to have the matzah raka. Because with the matzah raka, that's the only way you can do the dalit.
Now,
This one you cannot do dalit.
what is the Rabbi? What is the proper shiur that needs to be? Rabbi, what's the proper shiur that needs to be eaten of a matzah at this point?
No, you gotta talk about the round ones. Because that's what
We will. I brought the.
because the shiur will come on the round one because at Achilat Matzah, and that Achilat Ras, that we're talking about the Matzah Shmura. So you're talking about the round one.
Okay, so
The round one.
well, just in case there's people over here that don't do matzah shmura, so here we go. Here's a matzah shmura.
Okay.
What is the shiur right now that we need to eat?
Okay.
Is it what the people say that it's a handful?
Okay, it goes different ways. Okay, let me go.
So can I turn the camera to you right now? If you don't mind.
But there's pizza.
Here, take it to the rabbi. Benjamin, take this to the rabbi.
Okay. There's different shiurim that they say. Let's take the example of a person that's sick. It's very hard for them to eat matzah. I have a person with that situation, so he should at least eat a sixth of the matzah. Divide this into like 6 equal pieces. He should eat about a sixth. Some say, a palm would be fine. Okay, not like you did it, but like this. Okay. Some might even say that just the palm itself without the fingers. Okay, but the ideal is to eat kazait. The ideal is to eat at least a third of the matzah. Okay, if you want to do it the best of the best, that you're going to eat a kabetza, then you pretty much eat the whole thing, but not more than that.
And Rabbi, and on this one, for people that don't have shmur, would it be the whole thing?
I also learned you can wet.
For a kazait would be about a half of that. From the way I said, a third, so there would be about a half, maybe.
Can you show it to them also so people can watch? So basically on the shmur, it's about half.
Yes.
And on this one?
It's about maybe a little bit more than the half, okay? No, it's going to be a little bit more. It's almost going to be the whole thing, actually. It's about 2/3 of this, okay?
Okay.
Not the 8.5, okay. All right?
Okay, so we know now the shiur of the matzah. The next part here is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Haolam Asher Geshem Tzad Tzivanu Al Achilat Maror. Now the maror over here, we dip it now in charoset. Now since we already did hamotzi,
Thank you.
Since we already did hamotzi, there's no inyan over here on holding back on the size of the lettuce or the celery, or how much charoset you put on top. Who knows why we use charoset? What does it signify? That's right. Teeth. The mud. It signifies the mud that the Jews were using in the time of the were Mitzrayim as avadim. The next one. Huh?
Also interesting.
Let's hear it. Wait. Let me get one.
Dates, walnuts. So in our tradition, we do the
Silan.
China with silan.
China with silan.
With silan.
What is silan?
Silan.
Oh, so it looks. It's date syrup.
Dates. Yes, syrup or dates honey.
And it looks like mud.
Yeah.
אבל זה טעים, זה טעים.
זה טעים?
מאוד.
Date and tchina. I gotta look at dates. No, silan and tchina.
Silan with china.
Silan is date.
אבל אשכנזים עשו
סילן זה...
אבל אני לא חושב שאשכנזים יכולים טחינה, אני לא חושב.
אנחנו לא אשכנזים.
לא, אבל אשכנזים.
Very interesting. Okay. Now.
No, what? Also no dates? No, they don't know.
Rabbi, when it comes to the part of making the sandwich, is there a shiur over there? Can it be too big or too small, or it's just...
You can go smaller, but first of all, the maror, it has a shiur also. The maror has to be a kazai. Okay, so for sure it has to be at least your palm, maybe a lot more.
When we put the charoset on it.
Yeah, the maror has to be at least your a little bit more than your palm. Okay, for the korech, you can use less matzah. You can go down at least a third from what it was before. If you use the half, go down to a third, maybe even a quarter if you want to, and use about this much of lettuce. Okay?
So in the beginning of the night, we eat very little, not to eat the shiur, but in this part,
You
we
must
eat
have a
kazai.
shiur. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Maror, you can eat romaine lettuce, because even though it's sweet, it has a bitter aftertaste. We also eat...
It will stay longer, it'll turn bitter.
Okay. What we also have...
It happens to be that romaine lettuce is the par excellence choice because it's called in Hebrew chasa, chas rahmana alav. Chas the rachamim be'aramit. And chas ala ben adam. Ken. Okay. Just the other thing is you have to be very careful with the boogies, the bugs.
What are other options of maror that we can use?
The other common one is that was used in Europe, Russia, all these countries, and that is horseradish. And it's very hard to have a kazayit
of horseradish?
Yes, yes. Usually you'll be steaming from here and from here, and you might go toot toot, but
Yeah, but you can go Sfaradi on this.
well, today.
Rabbi, can you eat celery from maror?
No, it's just, there's another one called Hindais. I don't know all the 5 types today. It's called Hindais or something like that. The reason why the Ashkenazim eat horseradish, does anybody know the reason? No, horseradish. Why do you eat horseradish?
Horseradish is not bitter.
There was no lettuce yet in the fields, and in the March, April, and in the snows of Europe, all that they could get was horseradish. The life for them was kind of bitter.
Okay. And the next thing we do is Shulchan Aruch. When it comes to the egg, Rabbi, when it comes to the egg, who eats it? Like in our home, our custom is the firstborn.
First of all, it's not a must that it has to be in it. What it says is that you need to have 2 cooked items.
That's the zroa and the betzah.
Yes. So the Gemara says some people used to have rice as a cooked item for the Korban Chagiga. The Gemara says that he was always with rice. It says it beferush. Always.
cooked potato.
Okay, you can have a cooked potato if you want.
שמים את זה איך קוראים לזה? in salt water.
The egg? I don't know. Never heard of it. יש עניין בביצה, במשך הדורות נהגו לקחת יותר את זה, זה נכון.
אולי בגלל הטעם.
So there's no עניין in eating that egg? Or who gets it?
No, you're supposed to have a little piece of the egg at least. זכר לקורבן חגיגה, yeah.
אצלנו כולם היו אוכלים.
אצלנו רק הבכור.
אצלנו זה היה מלחמות, לפוצץ את הביצה של הראש. באמת, זה היה שודו אותה, כולם אוכלים.
אתם אוכלים גם כן?
Okay. After we, at this point we're ready for the Seudah, and I have to say just one thing. This type of Seudah, we look forward to it. It's family. It's the best food. It's the best wine, and eventually what happens is we overeat. I overeat. We all overeat. It's the moment, but you have to keep in mind that there's more food coming, and the food that's coming is the afikoman. And you have a few more. 2 more cups of wine. So what you want to do is you have to leave a little bit of room. We've done this Seudah, we've done this Seder so many times that you already know your limit. So before you go into the Seudah, almost put next to you the amount that you still have to eat, and put it on the side and say, no matter what I'm eating, I still have this left. Let it be a visual.
Idea. It's a good idea.
So like that you don't forget, because if you don't do it, you miss one thing of not eating. The whole inyan is eating what the Haggadah needs us to eat. The meal is, some people don't even sometimes not skip on the meal, but they don't give it such importance. For them, the biggest thing is that they eat the shiur of the matzah, and that's their Pesach.
What about the wine? You can eat.
For the wine, I wanted to say also.
You can drink between the 2, right? But not between the 3rd and the 4th, right?
This.
First and second you can drink.
You can do. The 3rd and the 4th you cannot.
That's a glass?
This is even a lot. This is a 5-ounce cup.
Wow, זה הרבה.
You see this?
אז פחות מזה מותר.
We need to eat, to drink 3 ounces.
Okay.
So it should be about maybe even a little bit less. Let me make it the right amount.
The visual.
That's 3.
This. Okay, so here's an inyan. So let's talk about one thing. One thing is the shiur. This is 3 ounces. This is what halachically you need to drink. Preferably should be wine. If you can't hang, grape juice, but real grape juice, not watered down, not sugar added, There's a lot of different types of grape juice out over there. Make sure that it's the grape juice, it's 100% grape juice. So here's 3 ounces. Now, let's go into some details. Red wine is preferred over white wine. Secondly, Doron is bringing here a point that it needs to be filled a full cup. So what does that mean? That we have to get a small cup that can hold enough, or just drink more than 3 ounces?
No.
One or the other.
The cup is big. You cannot say, hey, I'm going to put a little bit in the cup to make sure it's 3 ounces.
Needs to be a full cup.
Yeah.
Like you said.
And overflow.
No, they don't need to overflow. You need to be a full cup.
So I heard of the opinion of Maleh Logmo. Rabbi, is that enough Melo Logmo when he has like a mouthful of wine? Or is 3 ounces considered a full cup of a full mouth of wine?
I don't understand clearly.
I've-
First of all, the way you have it there is not the best.
This is what, 3 ounces?
If it's 3 ounces,
This is a 5 ounce cup.
right, then you should fill up the cup.
That's what Doron just told us.
Yes. And then,
But just to show that this is 3 ounces and it should be filled.
yes.
But you can drink
And
only
you
3
drink half cup,
ounces.
exactly.
But
And
you can drink
fill
just
up
3
a-
ounces.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
That's
very
what
good
it
point.
says.
So now you can drink most of it, which will be over 3 ounces, and whatever's left over you can pour on top.
Right.
Okay, that's it. Okay. So the maskana is you fill up the cup, and you drink at least 3 ounces, which will be about a half to 3/4, and whatever's left over you could add
And
to
you
it.
cannot, you see what happens if you get a big cup. You have to drink off course. So if you drink off course, it's much more than 3 ounces. Then it's hard for you. So the cup that you should have is 5 ounce cup or 4 ounce cup.
Yeah, don't get the
Pesach.
big one. Don't get the big one.
Yeah, because if you get a big cup and you said, "Oh, I'm just gonna
That's
drink the
not
3
a bottle of
ounce,"
wine
that's
right
you
there.
have to drink off course.
Oh, that's nothing then, of course.
It's
The most of the
majority of the cup itself. So it's what you're obligated to drink is 3 ounces.
By the way,
But
Sharon,
it needs to be a
the
majority
shul
of the
got
cup itself.
together and they want to honor you for Pesach and we want you to use this for the
You're gonna get drunk from the first one and that's it.
Of course.
Now, if you don't like wine, you can add vodka to it.
You know what, Bezat Hashem, it's a Kos Eliyahu. Speaking of Kos Eliyahu, Rabbi, is it an Ashkenaz custom or a Sephardic custom?
Eliyahu, when Eliyahu was there, it was no Ashkenaz in Sfarad.
No, but I'm saying we have there's the custom of the 5th cup, Kos Eliyahu.
You can do it. Doesn't mean you cannot not do it. We just didn't do it. But you can do it if you want to. Some people, what they do is they put it, they cover it nicely.
Thank you.
And when they come back Shabbat morning, Pesach, the first day in the morning, they take that cup and they make kiddush on it. But you need to leave it covered.
And there's no chashash. Oh, we have to cover it though.
Some
there's no mezikin.
Gilui applies. Mazikim is not a nachash.
That's right.
Mazikim are the other things, but nachash, I believe that halacha remains.
That it's because of a nachash.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So it'll be a good custom to leave out the 5th cup of
real
Eliyahu
reason-
for kiddush.
The real reason of the 5th cup, they call it Eliyahu Navi, but the main reason is because in the Torah there's a 5th lashon of Geula. והוצאתי וגאלתי והצלתי ולקחתי והבאתי. So we really only drink 4, but in honor of that 5th one, you leave that 5th cup. By the way, the Rif and the Rambam bring down that if a person wants to drink a 5th cup, there are those that drank a 5th cup. You're not obligated. But if you wish to say a 5th cup, you would say some more from the Hallel, and you would drink that 5th cup. But the Bet Yosef didn't bring it down.
So we should mention, since we're talking about eating and drinking, that everything is done
Beheseva.
Beheseva.
And the Karpat.
Everything is done beheseva, which is leaning on the left, except for the maror and the karpas. Now, the reason why we do that is because we're like kings back in the days. The kings would lay down and they would eat like it's a sign of royalty. Also, we also have 2 pipes over here, so the food doesn't go down the wrong pipe. Thirdly, you should know that when we pour the wines, there's a custom to pour for one another. I'm a king, you're a king. I'll pour for you and you pour for me. And then you go to the next guy and you pour for him. It's a custom to pour for one another. If you are in a tight room where there's 20, 30 people and you can't lean because the person right next to you is going to be uncomfortable, I've seen this. This is really nice. You take up the same amount of space, but now you lean onto the table, still to the left side, instead of bothering the people to the right or to the left of you. So if you want, you can just do that, or if you have an armchair, it's always easier. In our in our house, we have a custom.
You have to do the whole thing like this, or just you can take a sip and continue.
When it comes to the things that need a shiur, like the drinking and the matzah and the afikoman,
The majority of the 3 ounces at least. 2 ounces.
but as well as the matzah, the one that needs to the
Matzah ב4 כוסות. You have to do correct. Matzah, afikoman, 4 כוסות ב10 bar.
we get towards the end, we do the afikoman. When we say Zecher Nekuban HaPesach HaNechal HaSova, the afikoman, it's also a huge highlight for the kids. Speaking of the kids, right now when there's the meal, when it comes to the eating, it's one thing to eat and enjoy and socialize, but when it comes to Shulchan Aruch, when it comes to the time of eating, the Shulchan Orech, this is also a good time to eat and listen. It's a good time to let the kids talk. It's a good time for them to give a chidush. Because instead of sitting around the table and talking about, oh, did you hear about the Miami Heat game? Oh, did you hear about Bitcoin?
What
Oh,
happened?
did you hear about...
The one lost today.
That's what I'm saying. You see, you get dragged into it. What you want to do is, as the leader of the Seder, and as soon as everybody gets, Shabbat, Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom, so good to see you, the food is delicious. Yes, okay, everyone, Lichvod HaChag, Lichvod Shabbat, my son, my daughter has a beautiful chidush for the table. As a matter of fact, Benjamin, you have a chidush?
Yes.
איזה חמוד זה Okay, ready.
What is the chidush for Pesach?
Did you know Rabbi Akiva didn't begin learning Torah until he was 40 years old, but still became one of the greatest rabbis who ever lived?
Chazak.
No person is ever too old to begin learning Torah.
Beautiful. So here we are. We have over here.
Benjamin.
He's reading from the section of we were talking about Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. He's giving the chidush that Rabbi Akiva only at the age of 40 started to learn, and we learned from that it's never too old to start learning Torah. Beautiful. Multiply that by 10, by 15. Just keep going around and just have more chidushim, because the whole idea of the night is to be focused, to tap into all the kedusha and to all the order of the day. They told us Lel Pesach, Erev Pesach, the night of the Haggadah, Veigata lebincha. It's all about talking about the Haggadah and the Chidushim.
Yeah, they have to participate.
They have to. It's about the kids. The number one on the list is the kids. The kids. This is when we pass on the tradition. We pass on our history, our story. We pass on advice, life advice. We tell them about our past. We tell them about how it is right now, and we're telling them how it's going to be in the future. This is the night where we instill emunah in our children. Don't squander it away. Tomorrow you can talk to them about anything else. Next week, next month, you got 365 days to do the norm. On this day, do something different, or do something that you're supposed to do. Talk about Yetziat Mitzrayim and let the kids shine. Once we get to this part already, we get to Birkat HaMazon, we get to the Hallel, and over here we do 2 more cups and the Afikoman. One little honorable mention about the Afikoman. It's another way to get the kids engaged. And we hide it and we offer it, and you should offer. Whoever finds the Afikoman gets a brand new bike, gets $100 bill, gets gets whatever that they want. Do it. and then hide in a good place.
I
It makes
you
them
want
interested.
to give them whatever they want.
Huh? Give them whatever. Make it interesting. Let them look forward to the Afikoman next year, or let them look forward to the Afikoman tomorrow night. Why? Let them get excited about the religion. Don't let it be what the adults do when we go outside and play Pokemon. Let them get excited about the religion. Let them get excited about finding a matzah. Yes. Let them get excited about doing a chidush. Yes. That's what a Jewish kid should be excited about. Don't let them say, it's for the kids, it's for the adults. No, the Seder is for the children. Don't forget. The Seder is for the children. So, when we get to the Afikoman, also for the adults, you should know that this little piece of matzah has a lot of segulot. Health, parnasah, easy childbirth. So, there's customs for people that they eat the Afikoman, but they save a little piece for a rainy day. They put it away. Why? Because you never know when you're going to eat an Afikoman. I know a couple of years ago when my wife was pregnant, right before she went to labor, I pulled out from my bag. I said, "Here, eat this." I put it in her mouth. What's this? She's like, she's yelling, screaming from pain. I'm shoving a matzah in her mouth. Don't worry, it's good. It's good. Just eat it. But the Afikoman, you should definitely not pass on that. Once we get to the end, we're really just skimming through it. But once we get to the end, we have the singing. And we have Shir HaShirim. Does anybody know why we say Shir HaShirim at the end of the Haggadah? Does anybody have an opinion why we say that?
We learned on Friday. We learned it Friday. We said Erev Shabbat.
Why?
I don't know. I just saw the simple thing. At the end of the Seder, Shir HaShirim is the one part of all that is me'orer, the most ahava between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what you want to do at the end of the Seder. That's the top chesed shebechesed, whatever. It's the highest form of love to us from Hashem. But I don't know more.
It's exactly that. Rabbi hit it on the head. The reason why we say Shir HaShirim at the end of the Haggadah, because look at us. The rabbis tell us that on the night of the Haggadah, Kadosh Baruch Hu calls all the angels and he tells them, come look at my children. Come look at my children sitting on the Seder night, speaking highly of God and all His wonders. And He makes all the angels watch us do the Seder. Because if you think about it, this is something that happened over 3,000 years ago, and we are still today, every single year, what do? We talk about it with such happiness, with such fervor. We come and we say, wow, God rescued us from Mitzrayim with Moshe, and we tell our kids. So Moshe, God is impressed by this. He calls His angels. He's like, look at this. Think about it. Nowadays we have fads. Everything, fashion, every 5-10 years changes. Democracies, governments, countries, kingdoms, empires. They come and go, they come and go, they come and go. Who even speaks about them? Yet us, 3,000 years later, every year we find ourselves together, all together, and you find the head of the household saying, come, my children, let me tell you a great story about how the Kadosh Baruch Hu saved us thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. So because we get to that point that we're talking to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and we're speaking of His praises, what do? As the rabbi told us, we say Shir HaShirim. Why? It's a love story. It's a love story between a man and a woman. But the truth is, it's a love story between God and the Jewish nation. So why do we say it at the end of the Haggadah? To arouse Hashem's heart. Remember us? We're like a couple. There's nothing that arouses more love in Hashem's eyes than Shir HaShirim. In order for what? To get to the final Geulah. maybe this month, because what do you say? B'Nisan nigalu, b'Nisan atidim leigael. So what do we do at the end? We're like, oh, Shir Hashirim, come on, Geula. This month, let's do it.
The reason we leave the cup of Eliyahu Navi.
Yeah.
Geula.
Come, exactly. Come pick up the cup and say, Lecha, no, Sabri Maranan. What we say? Geula. Come to Eliyahu Navi. Come and redeem us. So the Shir Hashirim, it's that climax where we say, Hashem, we're right now on the highest level in your eyes. We're praising you all night long. We're doing Shir Hashirim. There's no better time for Geula. And we wait. One last thing is the story, is the song of Echad Mi Yodea and Chad Gadia. So, don't skip out on those songs. Those songs have the essence, the tamtzit, the root of Judaism in them. Echad Mi Yodea 1 to 13. It's a life lesson, what a Jew is all about. One is God, Luchot HaBrit, our fathers, our patriarchs, our matriarchs, the Chumash, Shisha the Mishnah, Shabbat, the Milah, the 9 months of pregnancy, the Asarat Dibrot. We have, and it goes on and on and on. But the last one is a prophecy. The song of Chad Gadia. What is the story of Chad Gadia? Does anybody know? What's the story of Chad Gadia?
It's one day.
Yes.
And a dog ate him, and somebody ate the dog, and this ate this, and
Okay,
this.
so what's the big deal?
So,
What's the big deal? What's the big deal about the one goat that he bought for 3 zuzeh, that he bought for 2 coins, and then comes the cat, and then the dog, and then the stick, and then the bull,
the fire.
and then the fire, right? Then Malach HaMavet, right? What's all the story? Chad Gadia talks about the one lamb. Who's the one lamb on this planet?
The Jewish people.
The Jewish people. That God bought for, that the owner bought for 3 zuzeh. He bought it for 2 coins. What were the Jewish people bought with? What were they? What was the kniya of Am Yisrael? The shte luchot. The 3 zuzeh is the shte luchot habrit. And as soon as we got that, what happened? Right away, they came to attack us. Who came to attack us? So they say each one. If it's the dog, it's the Amalek. If it's the shor, it's the time of the Romaim during Chanukah, because they put on the על הקרן של השור. אין לכם חלק באלוקי ישראל. So each one talks about a different generation. Without going into each one, the end is very interesting. The end says, ואתה שוחט. Who's the שוחט?
שוחט הקדוש ברוך הוא, היצר הרע.
הקדוש ברוך הוא comes to לשחוט מלאך המוות, לשחט לשוחט, לשחט לתורה. It says at the end of time, there's going to be one shochet. And the shochet is going to be the Arabs. The Arabs. The Arab nation are going to be, what did it say? Idbah al-Yud. Idbah. What's the idbah? Why do they say idbah? Why do they use that word? Because that's what they want. They want to slaughter. Everything, if you ever speak to an Arab, or an extremist, or any sort of Arab that's out there, that wants, what they want, the thing is, they want to be a shochet of the Jewish people. That's what they say, Idbah al-Yahud. So the shochet comes. So what happens? It lets us know that when it comes to the end of time, there's going to be the war of Gog and Magog. And Chad Gadia lets us know that the Muslims are going to win. It's going to be the Muslims versus the Edom, versus the Europeans. Chad Gadia says the prophecy is the Shochet is going to win. But then what's going to happen? The Shochet is going to meet Malach HaMavet. Who's the Malach HaMavet? The Yetzer Hara himself. He's going to come and he's going to get rid of the Arabs.
Why?
Because they have to. There's an end to it. There's an end to them.
אבל מלאך המוות הוא איתם, לא?
No.
לא, הוא לא איתם.
And then who comes and takes Malach HaMavet and
הוא היה מרגל, הוא עקר לצד השני.
and he comes and he shefts the Malach HaMavet at the time of the Geulah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then there's no more Yetzer Hara. The end of Chad Gadya, the last two pieces, is the generation we're living in. By the way, they don't even know who the author is. There was a piece of paper that was found. Wow. And it's a prophecy. So, we see we did, like we hung out speaking about the Haggadah. We spoke about certain things that we could do. We know what's the right size of the matzah that we need to eat. We know what's the right size of the chasa that we need to eat. We know what's the right size of the shiur of the wine. We know what's the right way of washing our hands. We know that the most important thing is involving the children and making sure that they have a chidushim and that we stay focused. But I'd like to end with just one thing. You know, every time that there's a special day, a special moment, in the year, I'll explain it this way. The year is actually 365 days that loops around. That's the year. It's the same year looping over and over. It's not a timeline. It's not like something that happened 100 years ago. It's a day that passed and will never come back. Whatever happened in the past, that energy constantly comes back. Where do we learn that from? Just like in Yom Kippur, God forgave the Jewish nation for Chet HaEgel, and Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai for the third time. We call that day Yom Kippur. What do? Every 10th of Tishrei, we go to Shul and ask Hashem for forgiveness. Why? Because that's the day for forgiveness. Leila Seder, it's a night of order. It's in the word order, Seder. If you walk into this night and you come and you do the Seder and you talk of Yetziat Mitzrayim, and in between all that, you insert a private prayer. Something personal. Something that's not in the book. Something that's not in the book. Something that Hashem, please give me Seder this year. Organize my life. Organize my life for me. If it's for me, for my wife, for my children, for my businesses, for my whatever it is, for health, for finances, for zivugim, for zaret dekaima, whatever it is that a person is struggling with, tell him, Hashem, take me out of my Mitzrayim and give me a Seder in my life. Come with your personal prayer to the Seder table. There's so much to do. And just when it starts to move away from the Kedusha, when people start talking about something other than Yetziat Mitzrayim, or the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or if it starts to go off topic, you start hurrying it along towards finishing the Haggadah. And when it's all said and done and they say, oh, finally we finished the booklet, now let's talk about this and let's talk about that, excuse yourself, go to sleep, call it a night, and wrap up the night of one beautiful holy night of mitzvot, ma'asim tovim, speaking of Yetziat Mitzrayim, doing all the special things, and not depositing a night of Leila Seder with the Haggadah with anything extra. Try to have a holy Seder. It's not that hard. There's a lot to do. And when you see it start going off topics, look for children. Then tell them, and then have an age-appropriate chidush. If there's a 2-year-old, if there's a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 15-year-old, or 18-year-old, come ready. So like that throughout the time of eating, and when people are done eating, you're going to be busy talking to the 2-year-old, and then you go to the next one, to the next one, and before you know it, it's moving on. Prepare yourself to have a holy night, a Seder night. And may Hashem give you a Seder in your life.
I have a question.
Amen.
In Haggadah, the name of Moshe Rabbeinu is not mentioned at all.
It is.
Imagine.
No, there is no. The name of Moshe Rabbeinu is not.
אני ולא מלאך, אני ולא שרה.
No, זה הקדוש ברוך הוא אומר את זה.
ראשי תיבות משה. I'll read it to you.
But again, it's...
אני לא שרה ואני לא...
Again.
אני ולא אחר, זה משה ביחד.
לא אחר.
זה הקדוש ברוך
אני
הוא.
הוא ולא אחר. אני הוא ולא
אבל
אחר.
אומר,
אז that's Moshe hidden in the Haggadah.
אז מה, אבל הוא לא הקדוש ברוך הוא, משה שלך, זה לא אותו דבר. זה כמו במגילת אסתר.
למה? מה התשובה?
במגילת אסתר,
זו השאלה, מה התשובה?
מרדכי ואסתר לא היו מופיעים איך קוראים לזה.
Because this is the night that we say Hashem is the one and only that took us out of Mitzrayim, and we, even though that Moshe had a great part in it, we don't mention it, but we see a hint to it in.
I think this has to do with the Anvar of Moshe.
Could be also. We have one more chidush. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Benjamin.
Anybody else want to have a chidush? Here, turn the camera to him so we can see him.
Why would Hashem choose a Tam Rasha, a Chacham?
What Moshe?
Why would Hashem choose a Chacham, a Rasha, Tam,
שלא יודע לשאול.
שאין
No, יודע.
לשאול? Because he needs four types of Jews. Each one has their own place. One is Al Rasha. One is one of those in the world.
So the world needs to have a Rasha, needs to have a Tam, needs to have a Chacham. Beautiful. Saku Baruch. Okay, thank you for joining us for this Mak Seder. Rabbi, would you like to say something?
Yes, you did a wonderful job. Very nice. Very nice.
חזק וברוך, כל הכבוד.
חג ברוך. חג פסח כשר ושמח.
חג פסח כשר ושמח.
Was a recap.
Just it's like like talking about it. That's why it's chilling with Torah. Yeah, press finish.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah.